What's up, friends? Before we hop into the show, gotta tell you about our friends over at Stravacraft Coffee because they have not been feeling the love recently. You guys have been letting them down. Yep, we said it. Our longest and most loyal partner to date, Stravacraft Coffee, has not felt the love lately. So we need you to change that. They're offering a new code so everyone can get in on an even better deal than they've ever offered before. That's promo code DNVR25. That's the new magical code. DNVR25 will get you 25% off your order of Stravacraft coffee. And if you want to try a cup first, well, swing by the DNVR bar and get a cup of Stravacraft cold brew on tap. And then use that code DNVR25 for your first order at 25% off. And then after that, subscribe and you'll save 20% off every single time you order through Stravacraft coffee when you subscribe. And you can have it sent to your door every 2, 4, 6, or 8 weeks or whatever you want. So make sure to check them out and use that promo code DNVR25 because not only is it delicious, smooth coffee, but it packs that CBD benefit, which helps relieve aches, pains, migraines, headaches, anything that's going on, it helps relieve. So make sure to check them out over at Stravacraft Coffee and use that code DNVR25. All right, mates, let's hop into the show.
Number one for the one and only DN.
Welcome into the DNVR Broncos podcast. I'm your host, Zach Stevens, joined by my man, Andrew Mason. And before we hop into the show, got to tell you about our friends over at MSU Denver Online. MSU Denver Online has the best online education that you can get. They mastered the art of online education, and it's affordable. One of the things that MSU Denver Online does is they make sure that you can still live your life and take classes. So make sure to check them out over at MSU Denver Online. My boy, Mace, what's going on, my friend? Happy schedule release day.
Yeah, although I don't think this is going the way the NFL wanted it to, because there are more leaks on this thing than the damn Titanic.
Yeah, this is tough for the NFL right now, but good for us. Good for all the fans. As Mace, we almost know half the Broncos schedule right now.
Yeah, the league's going to have to do something about this if they really want to have something big. With the schedule release, I kind of get that. I mean, they basically turned tonight into a celebration of the schedule. But the thing is, the more the more you put something out through the plumbing, the easier it is to have leaks in the pipes. And this thing is just bursting left and right now. There's a pretty good chance we're going to be able to put together the entire Broncos schedule before the Broncos actually release it officially at 5:45.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right on that. And speaking of the official schedule release, we'll be going live when we know all 17 games. We'll be going live at 6 p.m. So make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you're tuning in anywhere else, make sure to jump over and watch us on YouTube. That's where you get the best streaming quality. And also hit us with a thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on those alerts so you know right when we go live tonight. And of course, when we go live every single day of the week, we would really appreciate that, guys. Hitting us up with that thumbs up really helps us. But Mace, before we know all 17 games, let's dive in to what we know right now and what we know about the Broncos schedule. Well, we've got 7 games that we already know of. I'll just read them for you right now. We already know week 1, 2, and 3. Week 1, Broncos on the road against the Giants. Week 2, Broncos on the road against Jacksonville. Week 3, the Broncos' first home game, they are hosting the New York Jets. Week 6, they're hosting the Raiders. Week 8, they're hosting the Washington football team. Week 14, they're hosting the Detroit Lions. And week 16, a December game out in Las Vegas, the day after Christmas, the Broncos will play the Raiders in week 16. So, Mace, of those 7 games, what are your takeaways?
There's another one that we know from my co-host on radio, Eric Goodman. Ravens in week 4 at home in the afternoon.
So there we go. We start with back-to-back road games and then back-to-back home games.
Yeah, and let's talk about those first 3 games in particular. When you go Giants, Jaguars, Jets. Zach, there's a chance for something that is eluded Vic Fangio since he came to the Broncos, and that is a fast start. 0-4 in 2019, 0-3 in 2020. If they start 0-3 this year, Zach, and I know we've said that the seat's going to get hot. I think the seat's going to be damn well on fire if they start 0-3 against the Giants, Jaguars, and Jets. That is a massive problem considering what we know about, with those games out of the way, what surely lurks behind that is going to be considerably tougher. So, it's essential to get off to a fast start in those first 3 games. And I would say it's likely the Broncos do start at least 2-1, but if they're 0-3, my God, this season, then basically it's gonna be DEFCON 1 around here.
Yeah, even though there's 2 road games in that stretch, mates, even if they're 1-2, it's going to be very rough because then you're very, very well easily looking at 1-3 playing the Ravens in week 4. And so, Mace, that would be really bad news for Vic Fangio, not just being the head coach and having a losing record after playing 3 teams that did not have a winning record last year. And in fact, to the 2 teams with the first and second overall pick, the 2 worst teams in the NFL last year, but it would probably mean bad news for the Broncos defense as well. Either terrible news for the offense, meaning they're not putting up more than 10 or 13 points, or the defense is not as good as we think, because this sets up really well for Vic Fangio's defense. Specifically, first game, you play the Giants. Unless Daniel Jones does take a big step, which some people believe he can take, but if he doesn't take a big step, Mace, he's a turnover machine. The Broncos could feast off Daniel Jones in week 1 playing out there in New York. And then in week 2 and 3, you're playing rookie quarterbacks. Now, I know Trevor Lawrence is going to be a great quarterback in this league, but Mace, this will be his 2nd game in the NFL. Vic Fangio and this highest paid NFL defense should be able to feast off Trevor Lawrence. And then same thing, week 3 against the Jets, you're playing a rookie quarterback, Zach Wilson, who'll be making his 3rd start in the NFL coming from BYU. This defense, Mace, this defense should be off to a fast start, and we shouldn't be seeing the issues that have plagued them in the past of not being able to get to the quarterback, of not being able to create turnovers. We should be able to see a defense that is able to fly around the ball, get the ball, maybe even score points on their own, and not have a problem to start the season.
Yeah, you would hope so. Another thing, this is unrelated, but I'm just kind of searching through this, and there's somebody who put this out there who said, I have sources in the hotel business, and by the way, you can go to @LeaksNFL, and they're compiling all the schedule leaks. And this is interesting because it's something we've talked about earlier. What if I told you that Green Bay, of their 8 home games, has 3 in prime time and another on national television on a holiday? So half of their home schedule is nationally televised. That's 4 games.
Either the NFL loves Jordan Love, or they think Aaron Rodgers is going to be in Green Bay.
Yes, I mean for those in the tinfoil crowd, and I'm certainly curious. I'm certainly one of them when it comes to this particular thing. Now, granted, you can flex out of any game you want, of any Sunday night game you want, for example, but that to me is very interesting that there's this floating out there about the Packers' home schedule, that 4 of the games are nationally televised, 3 of them in prime time, 2 of them on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, that is interesting, and that's kind of what we were hoping to see from the NFL in terms of the Broncos and how they were treating the Broncos. But what I will say, Mace, is what we know about the Broncos' schedule so far. We know more early games than late games, and we haven't seen any primetime games pop up. So maybe we're going to see the Chiefs in December, the Chargers in December as well, and maybe those will be the primetime games that will tip the hat to the NFL, at least considering and acknowledging that Aaron Rodgers could end up in Denver.
Well, that @LeaksNFL feed actually has a Bronco primetime game on its noted, and that is Week 7 Thursday Night Football at Broncos at Browns, according to @LeaksNFL. Because so that would be the one. That'd be the one primetime game that we know.
And that you said that's a Thursday night game.
That would be a Thursday night game. Yes.
Yeah, and so that's not a surprise right there. I mean, Baker versus anyone is going to be interesting, and Baker versus Aaron Rodgers Thursday night. Doesn't every team get a Thursday night game, Mace?
Yes, every team gets a Thursday game because the NFL wants to make sure that the disadvantage of playing on a short week is shared equally throughout the league. And that's why, for example, you'll see whoever gets that, that of course you have that week 1 Thursday night game, and that isn't a short week, but you usually see those teams in week 1 on Thursday night play again on Thursday later in the year because they want everyone to deal with a short week, presumably once over the course of a schedule. So that's why, for example, if you see the Cowboys on Thursday night football, it's usually the week after Thanksgiving because Thanksgiving's their short week, and then they have a full week before Thursday night football. So that's one of the things that allows the NFL to set up Thursday night as something where everybody gets their shot in primetime at least once. Of course, that's led to so many Titans-Jaguars games over the years on Thursday night football that I think drive people crazy. But I don't think Titans-Jaguars is going to be the unattractive matchup this year that it has been in a lot of previous years.
No, it's certainly not. And the reason that I confirmed with you that that every team plays on Thursday night is that doesn't really tip the hand of the NFL saying, Broncos, we think they're going to have Aaron Rodgers or they're not. Every team gets it. Broncos, Browns, Thursday night. It really seems like Broncos, Browns typically always gets a little primetime action and so some off schedule primetime action. Played on Saturdays. I think the past 2 times they've played have been on Saturdays. So that's interesting there. And
there's another interesting thing also kind of in regards to Green Bay here. And it's this. Right now, of course, in week 1, the Broncos are playing the Giants. That's at 2:25 p.m. Eastern. So that means it's in the late window for Fox, and Fox has the doubleheader. The other game in week 1 in that window for Fox is Packers at Saints. So literally that gives Fox maximum flexibility because they can look at where Aaron Rodgers is and say, okay, if Aaron Rodgers is a Packer, we're going to send our number 1 crew and make to New Orleans and make Packers Saints our primary game. If Aaron Rodgers is a Bronco, we'll send our crew to MetLife Stadium, and Broncos Giants, Aaron Rodgers' debut will be a primary game. So you're kind of having it both ways there with that possibility.
And there's really no doubt on how they will decide that, Mace. Aaron Rodgers is the one tipping the scales there. Sure, if he's playing in New York, that's a great matchup. You got New York versus Aaron Rodgers. If he's out there in Green Bay, well, you start off the Jameis Winston era with a little primetime game, or I should say nationally televised game there. So, yeah, the Fox is doing a great job. They worked that out very well for themselves.
Yeah, that was really smart. It's basically like if you're watching a baseball game, you're monitoring on DraftKings and you see the odds changing. It's like I sometimes do. If I time it right, I get to where it's a situation where I've got bets placed on both teams relative to how the odds change. I can't lose. I end up making a profit at the end of the day. So is Fox. They're gonna get Aaron Rodgers no matter what in their in their game of the week in week 1. They love that.
Yes, they are. And Mace, how this also sets up, specifically looking at the end of the season, we know the 2 Raiders games aren't week 18, the final week of the season. So that means that I would not be surprised, Mace, if we're getting a week 17 or week 18 Broncos Chiefs game and potentially prime time or a nationally televised game that is going to be a late season big time game if the Broncos have Aaron Rodgers. And I think the NFL is counting on that right now because what we know is that the last game of the season will be Broncos Chiefs or Broncos Chargers because of the way the NFL likes to close that out. We know it's not going to be Broncos Raiders. And to me, Mace, man, Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes, that is a juicy one to put in the final 2 weeks. So I would put my money on that being one of the final 2 games of the schedule.
Yeah, the other interesting thing is just looking in general at what the end of the season might look like. What we've learned about the early part of the season, Zach, is we don't see a lot of division games early. So Is it a backloaded division schedule? This is something that I know we've touched on a little bit here, that if you're thinking, all right, you might have Rodgers in the mix here. What does that mean for divisional games? Do they stick both Broncos Chiefs games late? And that's something that I think is worth watching out for, regardless of whether they get on national television right away when the schedule is released today. And the other thing, of course, the week 18 games that come into play, there's a lot of flexibility involved with them, because the NFL on short notice is going to be able to take 2 of those Sunday games and play them on Saturday, January 8th in national windows. And then, of course, one of them will be the regular season ending Sunday night game. And that is a week where CBS and Fox cannot protect any games. So the league just takes what it wants for those primetime windows. So let's say the Broncos come up short on national television games, but Broncos Chiefs is a week 18 game, then I would say the chances are good that you would see Broncos Chiefs be one of those national games if Aaron Rodgers becomes a Bronco. Because can you imagine closing the regular season with a meaningful Mahomes Rodgers game? Oh,
it would be everything for the NFL. That would be huge. And Mace, I think what we're going to be talking about is maybe potentially a December Broncos Chiefs game and a January Broncos Chiefs game. And then heck, you never know. Maybe you're talking about an early February Broncos Chiefs game as well to in the playoffs as well. That would be awesome for the NFL and of course for us. And we are setting up for a really backloaded division schedule for the Broncos, because we know the first 4 weeks aren't going to be division games. So the earliest it could be is week 5. And if that's the case, then you're going to have back-to-back AFC West games for the Broncos, because you have the Raiders in week 6 there as well. And this is something where you want to start getting some road games in your division early, because you know that the Raiders game, the first one is home, the second one is away. What you don't want to do is have to end 3 road games against your division to end the year, or even 2 road games. So when we continue to see more leaks, Mace, that's something that I would want to see, is some early road games within the division. Man, if you can play Kansas City in October in Arrowhead and then in December in Denver, that would be ideal. We have not seen the NFL do that very recently or very often, so I wouldn't expect that. But maybe we're talking about an October Chargers game out there in Los Angeles.
Yeah, all these leaks are coming in fast and furious, and it's fascinating to see. See what they mean. Like, here's an example. We're talking about what the NFL might think of the Packers and what happens with Aaron Rodgers, right?
Yep.
What if I told you, though, that the post Drew Brees New Orleans Saints have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 primetime games, with 4 of those primetime games coming on Thanksgiving or later? So if I tell you that, the Saints could be a dud of a draw if Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill don't pan out, and they're getting the same treatment schedule wise that you would have expected from them with Drew Brees as their quarterback. So maybe we're putting kind of too much into this whole Aaron Rodgers thing.
Wow, that's something there. A dark horse to get Aaron Rodgers has been the Saints. I mean, maybe they're thinking that could be it. I certainly don't think that'll be the case with the Saints. Absolute cap terribleness they're going through right now. I don't think that would be the case. But maybe they're saying, New Orleans is a big city. They're going to draw a big crowd. We know Green Bay is a historic franchise. And Mace, Denver also typically does very well on primetime games. And of course, that helps with Peyton Manning. We have seen the numbers decrease on the number of games that the Broncos get in primetime over these past few years when the Broncos haven't been good. But when the Broncos are relevant, they are a good primetime team. So would expect expect to see a couple. I mean, way more than just that Thursday night game, Mace. I would say to expect at least 2 more. And then I think if we start seeing 4 or more primetime games, that's the NFL really hedging their bets that Aaron Rodgers is coming to.
Yeah, absolutely. This is crazy. Now, what would then you think if the Broncos only had 1 or 2 primetime games, kind of what they've had the last few years? What would that tell you?
Well, I think that means that they think that he's staying in Green Bay. But Mace, what this doesn't really matter because it's not like the NFL knows, right? They
Yeah.
don't know what Aaron Rodgers is doing, and they're just waiting till 6 p.m. tonight to release it. They don't know. Now, maybe they've tried to do some digging in these past 10 days to really try to find out if Green Bay is going to trade him, and maybe that's what we find out is how willing is Green Bay going to be to trade him, and that's what the NFL is going to tell us tonight at 6 p.m.
The other thing is also how much of this was done before the draft. And we know about the schedule putting together. This is a laborious process that is done over months. Is it possible that so much of this was done before the draft that if the Broncos are low on primetime games, and then you see like say that the Packers are heavy on primetime games, maybe it's not simply okay, we believe Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Packer, and maybe it's people in Green Bay saying, yeah, we'll find a way to get him done and being optimistic, but maybe it's just this thing was pretty much done by mid-April, and your release, and one thing that has been mentioned by the league is they're releasing it now as opposed to they used to release it in April. They changed it. They did it before the draft. It was changed last year because everything that was floating around regarding COVID and what the season might look like. And they decided to keep it in May for this year because they felt like it had maximum effect. So what if it's entirely possible? Sometimes the simplest answer is the correct one. It's entirely possible that they had this thing in the can by mid-April, just like they do every year, and that they've just been sitting on it, and that in no way is it going to reflect the notion that Aaron Rodgers could be a Bronco.
It's very true. It's very true, and that could be, maybe another reason why the Saints have so many primetime games now. I would expect that they figured that Drew Brees was retiring, but he announced that very late in the process. So, we'll try to read into this and see if there's any fire there. But of course, the Packers don't know, and Vegas still has the Packers as the favorite for Aaron Rodgers to play his next snap, and that makes sense because he's on the Packers right now. How often? We've never seen an NFL MVP traded when he was still the reigning MVP. So it's just not that often. You never see it happen. But Mace, that's why it's just incredible that you never see this happen. And the Broncos are almost at plus 100, according to our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook. So, man, I love that this schedule is leaking throughout the day. And like I said, we're going to be live with the schedule release today at 6 p.m. when we know exactly what's going on to break it down. And Mace, real quick, do have some news coming out about the Broncos right tackle search. Charles Leno, someone who they were very interested in, is signing with the Washington football team. So the Broncos will face Charles Leno this year, but they won't be getting him. How much of a blow is that to their search?
It's not really a big blow. They've got other guys that are in play. Bobby Massey, of course, Dennis Kelly, and they signed the ex-Packer tackle yesterday, although he's depth, basically. He's young depth. I mean, basically, don't make a big deal out of this. This is sort of like when the Broncos brought in Calvin Anderson off waivers. It's somebody that they probably scouted and liked, and now what that does is you have two guys who can be right tackle for OTAs, no matter whether you sign one of these veterans or not. So it gives the Broncos enough guys to be able to get through OTAs without panicking. And I think I would say this: the notion of just having somebody who is young, developing, and you bring him in there just for depth, it maybe lends credence to the thought that they're going to see what Calvin Anderson has for a week or two.
Maybe. And today, Mace, those three guys you mentioned,
Yeah.
Bobby Massey, Dennis Kelly, and Cameron Fleming, the Broncos are actually having in for a
Yeah.
workout or in a visit and potentially a workout today. So they're going to get a first look at those guys. And there is a chance that they sign one of those guys today. They don't let them leave the building, especially with Charles Leno going off the board. Maybe they get a little bit more desperate if they like one of these guys. Or, like you said, you can work out a guy, try him out, discuss over the next couple days, discuss over the next couple of weeks, and then sign him. Heck, maybe you even come to an agreement. Let's say Dennis Kelly, Bobby Massey, both veterans in this league, and you come to an agreement today, but he doesn't really want to participate in the OTAs. The Broncos want to see what they have in Calvin Anderson, so you actually don't see a deal signed until right before training camp. That would not surprise me. It also wouldn't surprise me if they say Calvin Anderson's just depth. We want to sign one of these guys so that he's in here for the next phase of OTAs next week.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's not really a huge urgency here if the Broncos just want to sit back and wait, because if you get the sense that the tackles that there are going to be multiple ones of these tackles that are available in a couple of weeks or even next month, I think you can kind of sit back and be patient, and or if you want to get something done today, done right now, great, but it's not something where I think the Broncos need to hit the panic button just yet. And as we saw last year, there are going to be guys that are available in June into July, and I don't all these guys the Broncos are bringing in for tryouts. I would anticipate, Zach, that at least one of them is still available a month from now, if not two of them that they're bringing today available a month from now. So they can just kind of, if they want to, they can just use today as kind of a data point gathering session, and then circle back on it in a few weeks. So it's a whole thing of, you're not playing on Sunday, so you don't have to do anything if you don't want to.
Right, and that's why the Broncos may not do anything. Mace, any of those names really jump out to you and say you can't let this guy leave today, or do you view them all the same? So as long as one of them's available in a month, that's all you care about. I
think they're all pretty much the same at this point. Maybe a slight edge toward Bobby Massey over the others, because Massey's been a long-term starter, whereas Fleming and Kelly are guys who have mostly been backup swing guys most of their career. I would say this: if I were Calvin Anderson, I would feel better about my chances of being the starter if it's Fleming or Kelly than Massey. I think Massey, you bring in, he's clearly the starter. Fleming and Kelly are guys for most of their careers, they've been swing players, and so if Anderson balls out, takes that huge leap that could come from being with Mike Munchak for 2+ years and finally getting a shot, then you could look at Fleming and Kelly being a swing backup once again, just like they've been most of their careers.
Yeah, you could. And man, the way people talk about Dennis Kelly on Twitter, man, Mace, you would think that he's a future Hall of Famer. Just fans love Dennis Kelly for something. I would probably put Dennis Kelly as my number one. And the reason for that is he's trending up. Like you said, before last year, he was kind of a backup. Last year, he was a full-time starter and played well, I thought. Bobby Massey, like you said, has been a starter his whole career, but trending down, at least from what last year showed. And Cameron Fleming, I think Calvin Anderson will be thrilled if that's the way that the Broncos go. But we may find that out right around 6 p.m. as well, just as well as we're going to find out the schedule, Mace. And anything else with the schedule that jumps out to you before we jump off here, Mace?
I mean, like I said, like the early stuff is interesting. Vic Fangio defense against rookie quarterbacks in 2 of the first 3 weeks certainly should play into the Broncos' hands. Again, I think the fast start becomes necessary both for the team and for Vic Fangio. Now, that being said, I think you're more likely to have a fast start with Aaron Rodgers than you are if it's Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater. But if it's ultimately Lock or Bridgewater, if Rodgers doesn't pan out, there's a real chance to get some momentum here. And it's all about kind of putting wins in the bank. And if you can come out through a Giants, Jaguars, Jets opening 3 games and put 3 wins in the bank, then you're in a position where you're gonna hang around and contend for a while, even if you have slip ups later on in the year. frankly, Zach, I love this opening for the Broncos because it gives them a chance to get the confidence that they weren't able to get early in the last couple of years. I mean, you go back to 2019, for example, Vic's first year on the job. You open at the Raiders, where you'd lost late in the previous season, and of course you open by losing there, and then your first home game is against Chicago, and then they're coming off being 12-4. Then you go to Green Bay, and I think when that 2019 schedule came out, I thought, oh boy, if they can't improve their form against the Raiders, they're going to start off 0-3, and indeed it got to 0-4. And then you go to 2020, and you open with the Titans coming off of being in the AFC Championship. You go to Pittsburgh, always good, always tough, and then you go from there into week 3, and it was, you looked at these schedules and said, well, there's not really the chance to kind of get your footing. You've got to come out punching right away. This opening, Zach, gives the Broncos a chance to, I wouldn't say ease into it, but build some confidence that they haven't been able to build in the early season. So that's huge for this team. Huge.
Yeah, Vic. Yeah, it really is huge. I believe Vic Fangio could get potentially his first win in September with these games the way they shake out. And Mace, what could also mean is it set up for either a brutal stretch in the middle of the season or a brutal stretch at the end of the season. If it is one of those and the tough games are all kind of clunked together with the easy games being at the beginning and then somewhere else in the schedule, then that I would rather have it in the middle so that you start strong. You kind of struggle, but then you can bounce back and finish strong, as opposed to having to count on a strong finish in order to make the playoffs when you have to face the toughest part of your schedule. And that's, again, something that we will find out in just a couple of hours. But a hot start is something that Vic Fangio needs. That, let's say it's Drew Lock, to get some momentum for him, or Teddy Bridgewater with his first 4 games with the Broncos getting a hot start would be key, especially for Vic, and to cool down that seat a little bit and feel comfortable finally. I don't know if he's ever truly felt comfortable in terms of where the team was at in a season since he's been the coach these past 2 years. But Mace, before we hop out of here,
I got another one for you here.
Hit me.
Philadelphia, according to at Leaks NFL, Philadelphia week 10 at home. So Washington is week 8.
Yeah.
Philadelphia is week 10. And then another leak on, and then looks like I'm looking here to see if there was another thing on there. So that means you talk about kind of soft stretches, Zach. We talk about that early season, and if you're looking at Washington and Philadelphia in a 3-week span of midseason, there's a chance maybe for another soft underbelly of the schedule where you can get some momentum there at the having home games against Washington and Philly. I think you're putting those down as dubs based on the fact that they're at home, based on what those teams are. And that's something that I think, again, gives another chance for the Broncos to kind of catch their breath and find their footing. The question is, where does the tough stretch of the schedule come? By process of elimination, maybe it's in October, maybe it's in December.
Man, and if the bye week happens to be week 9, right in the middle of those 2 games, that would be a perfect stretch for the Broncos to step back, catch their breath a little bit, stay at home, then get a bye, then stay at home again. That could be an ideal place for that, especially week 9 and an 18-week season. That could be absolutely perfect for the Broncos. So that's something that we'll be looking at and analyzing as well. But that could be a nice little break for the Broncos. That's for sure. Mace, any other leaks?
Well, we got someone commenting Dallas week 9. So actually think about that for a moment. If that's the case, you would have Washington, Dallas, Philadelphia. NFC East games back to back. Now, Dallas, of course, would be a road game, and I would certainly say that of those 3 games, that's the toughest one, and I don't expect Dallas to be sitting there in that 6-10, 7-9 range again this year. But once again, you're looking at a point in the schedule where I wouldn't say catch your breath, but you've got a chance to build some momentum there in the middle part of it, and just kind of putting everything to get together. Zach, I think we're going to see the Chiefs games in the last 6, 7 weeks of the year. I think we're going to see December, January Chiefs games, kind of like we guessed earlier in the schedule.
Yep, exactly. And man, you get to play the NFC least in 3 straight weeks. That wouldn't be too shabby for the Broncos, and kick off your season against one of those teams as well. That wouldn't be too bad, man. This schedule is flying. And Mace, maybe we just stay live until 6 and then just roll into our schedule release party then.
Yeah, exactly.
But really quick, guys, got to get to my DraftKings Sportsbook pick of the week. And it kind of goes along these lines. Looking at rookie quarterbacks, Mace, I am just shocked that Trevor Lawrence is plus 300. I'm surprised that he's not right around 100 or even the heavy favorite. I think you jump on this right now and get Trevor Lawrence at plus 300 to be rookie of the year. He's going to have all the hype once the season comes around. He's been overshadowed by some other quarterbacks, by all the other drama this offseason. And now he's being overshadowed by Tim Tebow a little bit. But once the season comes around, all eyes are going to be on Trevor Lawrence again. And to get him at plus money to win rookie of the year, I think it's easy. I love hitting that now because I think that's going to drastically change.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to go with week 1 because we already have week 1 lines out. Broncos are 1.5 point favorites according to DraftKings Sportsbook against the Giants. I'm taking that. Thank you. Give me the Broncos in week 1. Easy. That's a game I expect them to win.
I love that the Broncos are yeah. It does depend on who the quarterback is?
No matter who. I'm taking the Broncos week 1.
Yeah, and obviously if the Broncos get Aaron Rodgers, you are so thrilled that you got that line right now. But obviously some hedging there. Little surprised that the Broncos are road favorites, especially with what we've talked about, how tough of starts they've had to their season under Vic Fangio. So I like that, though. I like it. Only 1.5 points and going on the road to New York. Well, Mace, before we get out of here, got to tell you guys about DraftKings Sportsbook because that's where you can get in on all of these bets. And I love looking at every single NFL bet that they have. I like to stick with NFL for the most part because that's what I know the best. But if you know UFC or you want to get in on UFC 262, there's some big names this weekend from Nate Diaz to Michael Chandler. There's going to be no shortage of action over at DraftKings Sportsbook, and they're giving you a chance to turn $1 into $100 on betting on a fighter. Here's what you have to do. Bet $1 on select fighters, and if they win, you'll win $100 in this weekend's UFC 262. There's no better way to show your MMA knowledge than putting your money where your mouth is. And also, if you don't want to do MMA, let's say you want to look at the week 1 of the NFL season. Well, get those lines, in, especially with the Broncos games without Aaron Rodgers. Or, of course, we got some playoff hockey, playoff basketball coming around. Get in on that as well. And, of course, baseball, although I wish the Rockies were more fun to bet on. But you can still get in. And one of the things I love about DraftKings Sportsbook is they have daily odds boosts, which just make it so fun. Turns a plus 100 bet into over plus 200, which is great. So make sure to head to the App Store now, download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now, and use promo code DNVR when you sign up to turn $1 into $100 when you bet on the main card fighter to win. Place your bet, watch the fist fly this weekend to turn $1 into $100 only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. And Mace, that'll do it for us on the live side of this. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And remember, hit us with the like, and then also tune in tonight at 6 p.m. where we will break down the entire 17-game schedule with you. Right now, Mason and I are going to hop over into the podcast section of this, so make sure to find us anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Just search Broncos, and we'll be the first one that pops up. But for everyone tuning in live, thanks so much, Mace. Let's hop into the comment section.